Hello, everyone. What I decided to research, and I'm kind of going out on a limb here this week, um, is really something I wanted to research before, and there's not a lot of specific literature on this particular topic that I've chosen. But mine is not a denomination or anything like that. It's a Christian tradition, and mine is an even more unique Christian tradition in this country because it's not actually mandated or anything. Um, but it's actually the tradition of the morning worship service on our presidential inauguration day and taking the oath on a Bible. Now, taking an oath on a Bible nor the worship service in the morning, neither one of these things are required. But to me, that kind of speaks and is even more reflective of the significance of the Christian tradition in America. Is because either whether it be political or their own religious convictions personally, that so many of our founders and our presidential leaders and people who are taking oaths, even at the state level, have decided to continue this tradition. Um, and it really started, or it didn't really start. It did start with George Washington and William Bennett's excellent historical book, um, America: The Last Best Hope, which a lot of schools are starting to implement this now because of the more of a traditional inclusion of some of the founding principles of our country. He states that, or he points out that George Washington was the first to actually um, willfully place his hand on the Bible for the oath, because in Article 2 of the Constitution, there's nothing that says that a president has to put their hand on a Bible or even say, "So help me God." And George Washington started that tradition of not just putting his hand on the Bible, but of also saying, "So help me God." Um, and all presidents have included some type of reference, at least, to God in their inauguration speeches, and nearly all of them have placed their hand on the Bible when taking an oath of allegiance. And again, Dr. Bennett, he makes the point that, and to me, how I interpret it, that it kind of makes it even more remarkable, um, and it speaks even more profoundly about the need and desire to keep that Christian tradition going. Whether it is, again, political reasons because they feel like, well, I need to continue it or I might offend the Christian base, or whether they want to. Either way, Christianity has a significant impact all the way even now in 2019. You are hearing people talk about how evangelicals and the Christian vote is becoming even more and more significant in some of our elections, especially in swing states, and even how some of them are trying to appeal to even certain denominations. You've even seen these past couple of weeks how Democrats specifically feel like they are losing the battle with evangelicals, and you've seen almost every single one of the candidates make some type of reference, trying to shape the narrative that their appeal is actually more Christian than Republicans. And I'm not going to get into all that, but that's just, it just shows you the significance in our politics, for whatever reason, that Christianity is still a very powerful force in the United States. Now, the morning church service of the inauguration on inauguration day, again, not all presidents did this throughout history, but ever since 1933, when Franklin Roosevelt first went to St. John's Episcopal Church, every president since then has done this, has went to the morning church service. Even presidents who had questionable character did this. Again, whether it's political or whether it's genuine Christian worship, it still suggests that even 200 and something years later, that the Christian tradition and Christianity still plays a powerful influence in how our country goes about its business, whether it's political or personal, or whatever. And I think this is an interesting tradition that stays alive. Now we certainly want to have genuine Christian worship in this country. We want the politicians, hopefully God will move in their lives to affect them when they're making policies and all that. But it goes back to Washington when he put his hand on that Bible and said, took the oath on the Bible and said, "So help me God." He even kissed the Bible. He even referenced that this country and this republic and our Constitution depends on a Christian nation, a Christian people. That's what it was created to do. So even though we have toleration in this country, once again we see how powerful the Christian tradition is, even in politics like this. And it kind of, you can add that in the church and state argument that, our founders never intended for there to be a complete separation, even as early as George Washington until now. And it's reflected on the inauguration days. We're an oath of allegiance on the Bible. It's on our money. Christianity is a powerful force, and it's not going to go away in this country, and it shouldn't go away, and there's no argument to make it go away. We have the Establishment Clause, but that Establishment Clause does not say that our leaders can't reflect on Scripture, when they're going about their business. A complete separation would imply that there can be no relationship at all between the church and our government officials and all that. So it's just such a misunderstood concept in our country. It really doesn't even exist in the Constitution. If you look at it, the Establishment Clause talks about you can't establish a religion, or can you prevent the free exercise of it. So really the Establishment Clause is just simply saying our founders didn't want the state to control the church. It did not mean that they didn't want the state or leaders to be influenced by Scripture. So we really got to get that conversation out there. I thought this was something that people might think was pretty neat to share, reflecting our Christian tradition and how powerful it is even in the 21st century.